I very strongly do not like this season. Let me explain. Ben 10 has over 200 episodes spanning across 18 seasons in the Prime continuity. A show that's that long, it's basically impossible to have every episode be good. It's very difficult to have every episode be good. Now sure, some of the Ben 10 seasons are better or worse than the others, but there's one that stands out as being the absolute worst. And that, my friends, is Season 3 of Ben 10 Alien Force. I despise Alien Force Season 3. Before I get any more into that, I have to explain why this season is so universally hated. Basically, when the studio was producing Alien Force, they ran into a few problems. They had tons of plans for Alien Force, including having the show being very mystery-centered, almost like Stranger Things, and you can definitely tell with where they were going in Season 1. There were also many dropped plotlines and stories, the most famous ones being the Dragons plotline and using Vilgax as a Cthulhu-like figure. I mean, they did get to do that, but it's not the same. This was all going to be a fantastic show, until BAM! The network came in, just strangled them in the studio, and kicked them in the teeth and crushed their dreams. But yeah, Cartoon Network came in and basically just put their dreams away to the side so they could sell more merchandise. And that's when we were given Alien Force Season 3. Now, this is all pretty bad for the studio, but surely this season could still be salvaged, right?
No way. Not this time. We created it. Not this time. No. Not a chance.
There are 3 reasons as to why people don't like this season. The first is the lack of story. Honestly, none of these episodes fit with each other at all. For the most part, if you leave the premiere and the finale where they are, you can just jumble up the order of the other episodes however you want. The second reason is this guy right here. Yeah, so after the hybrid war, apparently it gave Ben an insufferable attitude with an inflated ego. It not only made him annoying to the characters, but also annoying to the audience. The worst part about this is that it wasn't even all the time. He was like on and off with his cockiness, which is somehow even more annoying. And the third reason why is because of the stories they told. The episodes were just not that great due to both the previously mentioned reasons, and they paled in comparison to the previous 2 seasons. That rhymed. And we are gonna get into those episodes right now. The season premiere is the 2-part episode Vengeance of Vilgax. This was Vilgax's triumphant return after not being seen since Secret of the Omnitrix, and he gets put in one of the worst season premieres ever. I talked about this much more in depth in this video here, but to sum it up, this episode is mainly just pointless exposition and terrible character work from everyone. I swear the only person that's in character in this episode is Azimuth, and he gets like a minute of screen time. I don't like Vengeance of Vilgax, and I think it's just a huge waste of time. Inferno is the first of the quote useless episodes, and it's definitely not a good one. This episode basically starts with the idea that Volcanus purchased the Earth, and since he purchased the Earth he can change it to whatever climate he wants, which is why he decides to just blow everything up. It makes no sense how he's able to do this. This episode also looks like crap, and has probably the worst character to ever be introduced to Ben 10, Moldy Warp. I do not like him or his stupid pyroxivores, and I think it's absolutely obscene that he's voiced by the same person that voiced Grandpa Max. Don't Fear the Reaper's only purpose is to introduce Ship's mecha suit ability and the Vreedles, but other than that, there isn't really much that goes on in this episode, and in fact, I don't really remember anything else here, so... Simple is simply bad. I like that Ben takes the time to go help out this planet, but he ends up just making it worse by the end of the episode. Look, war is very bad. And I'm kinda glad that there's an episode that addresses that, but it was done in the sloppiest way ever. Lodestar gets introduced here, but that's all the episode really has to offer. We also get probably the worst character work out of Kevin, as we have another episode of him going back to his villain traits with Argit, where he's selling guns to both sides of a war and profiting off their suffering. It's not hard to see that this episode is not good. And now we've got the Citizen Kane of Season 3, or I guess the reverse of that, Fool's Gold. This is widely regarded as the worst episode in all of Ben 10, with some of the worst characters, plot, and concepts. Now I am here to say that all of that is correct, and that this episode straight up sucks. These little gremlin things are annoying and weird, the villain is just bad, the visuals are whatever, and Kevin literally bites a piece of shit. But you see, this was not done by accident. Everything was planned. The studio was just so fed up with the networks restricting what they were able to do with the series that they wanted to give him a little present. So Eugene Sun got to work and created this horrible episode, basically just to sabotage the series. What a story. But this is still bad, don't get me wrong. This episode's still canon, so I still have to talk about it. I do not remember a single thing from this episode, except for the fact that Kevin is cheating on Gwen and Charmcaster is kissing a minor. Charmcaster's age is quite inconsistent, but considering Kevin is 16 here, and in the classic series it was implied that Charmcaster was 5 years older than Ben and Gwen, it makes this scene a little weird, don't you think? Another Kevin episode is next, and that's Trade-Off. And this one had the potential to be really good, but just fell flat. It made sense how this episode was created, as Darkstar and Kevin both want to try and turn back to normal, but I can't really remember anything here. In fact, let me just go watch this episode real quick. Okay, I've just watched this episode, and it's bad. This is like an episode of The Simpsons, really, where nothing gets accomplished by the end of it, and all the rewards and changes that were made in the episode are stripped away and turned back to normal in the conclusion. The only importance that this episode has is the Dominus Librium, which comes back in the Ultimate Kevin arc, but they explain its backstory and even give us a flashback for it. So besides that, nothing happens here. I feel like some people like Ghost Town, and yeah, it should be a good episode. The trio and Vilgax team up and have to fight off Zskar to stop him from taking over Vilgax's home planet. That sounds so cool, but this episode is just wrong. Like, it's kind of fun, but I can't get the classic series Vilgax out of my mind when I see scenes of them hanging out like this. I feel like Vilgax can get away with just being one of those villains who doesn't get a redemption arc and turns into a good guy. I feel like he can really just be a brute force of evil. This episode kinda just tarnishes that image. Although I will say the battle between Vilgax and Zskar was actually pretty cool. If Ghost Town tarnishes Vilgax's image for being a soppy, emotional, sad sack of a squid, Primus destroys his image by halving his IQ and creating the worst version of him ever. This episode is just stupid. Like, this whole season. It's just dumb. Primus is an interesting place. An artificial planet that Azimuth created to house all the DNA in the Omnitrix. It's actually pretty cool. Even though some people don't like the idea of the codon stream, I really don't mind it. The main bad part is right here. What is this? Why is this a thing? We did so good last season, but here we are with this BS. How does Vilgax turn big by falling into the codon stream? Why did they not treat Azimuth using the Omnitrix as a bigger deal? This episode has so much potential. Why is it so bad? You know what? I'm done. I can't do this. This is destroying me. I hate this too much. Screw this. Busybox is an interesting episode, as it has a pretty creative concept with the Nalgene Destructor and the Cosmic Mum, but I feel like the episode would have sufficed on its own just being about the box, and it didn't really need the Vreedles. I mean, it makes sense why they would want it, and the big Chimera copy at the end of the episode was cool. I just think this episode is a little strange, but it's far from the worst from this season. Oh my god, I think I'm gonna have another stroke here. The Secret of Chromastone might be the worst episode I've ever seen. And shock, it's another Vilgax episode. This just doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. The fact that they addressed this in the episode with the characters not knowing how any of this works just shows that they had no idea what they were doing. This episode was written by a guest writer, and it's kinda clear to see, and I just don't get this episode. Vendetta is just another Kevin lore piece that adds to the never-ending pile of Kevin backstory lore pieces that just don't fit anywhere in his story, but it's just something we have to deal with. Ragnarok honestly makes me feel nothing. Kevin's characterization here is weirdly enough kinda good though, and I love how this is so important to him, and he takes it so seriously. Also, Kevin pushes Ragnarok into the sun at the end of the episode, which is probably the most metal thing we've seen on screen in Ben 10. But this whole plot comes out of nowhere, and the picture frame key going into Ragnarok's head was definitely an afterthought. Like Trade-Off, we've got another episode that kind of resets everything that happened by the end of it, and that is Time Heals. I like that we have stuff like this, and it shows that Gwen is trying to create a cure, since they do mention that. I feel like though it had a better idea than the execution. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I really don't remember this episode. I actually think it would work better if this episode and Trade-Off were just combined into one episode, and it was a flip between Gwen and Kevin trying their own methods to cure him. But I guess we're stuck with this. I don't really care, let's just move on to the finale. The final battle part 1 and 2 are episodes. I do not like this finale very much. Let's start with the things I do like. I like that we get introduced to the Ultimatrix here, and I like that Albedo creates it. And the team up with Vilgax and Albedo sounds really cool. Also, the visuals ain't bad here, and Yeah, that's about it. That's all I like, really. I don't get how Gwen and Kevin are even able to be captured like this. Part 1 spends a whole 10 minutes on freaking crab fight scene, which doesn't lead to anything and is just useless exposition. This doesn't do anything. Why is this here? This episode has the same problem as Vengeance of Vilgax. They spend 10 minutes at the start of the episode with a useless fight scene which doesn't go anywhere. Like, what's the point of this? You could have spent that 10 minutes setting up this team up with Vilgax and Albedo, since this literally comes out of nowhere. Part 2 also isn't much better. As I said before, none of this team up is set up at all. We get Vilgax 4 times in this season, but we don't even get Albedo once this season. His only appearance was in Good Copy, Bad Copy. The battle on Vilgax's ship wasn't so bad, except for this. Yeah, this is just something else. I mean, they did say they want to use Vilgax as a Cthulhu-like figure, but this was never mentioned before. And we haven't seen anyone on his planet do this, and no one is in water on his planet. Yeah, this finale is just a no. Now, you may have noticed that this is not all the episodes in Season 3, and I purposely left out 4 of them. Those episodes are Single-Handed, Con of Wrath, Above and Beyond, and If All Else Fails. The reason I wanted to talk about these here is because these 4 episodes are actually good. Some of them even amazing. Single-Handed, while a pretty silly concept, is actually a fun and thrilling episode. Ben gets his hand severed and he's stuck in the null void and had to escape without knowing what or when he's gonna transform into an alien. We also get Sunder here, and he's probably my favorite throwaway villain. Con of Wrath is one of the most entertaining episodes out there, as it introduces the most entertaining transformation ever, Wrath. John DiMaggio plays this tiger so well, and this whole episode is basically just villain after villain. We also get the Lewodins here in an absolute balls to the wall story. Above and Beyond is objectively one of the best episodes in Alien Force, since it's pretty much just something you'd see in DC instead. It's centered around the Plumbers kids and they have to fend off against an evil Ben Tennyson to save Grandpa Max, but it's all a test for them by the end of it. See what I mean? It's exactly something you'd see in Young Justice, even though Young Justice did come out after this. But then we get to If All Else Fails, and this may be one of my favorite episodes ever. I don't know why, but this episode is just so good. It has insane visuals, some awesome action, and a really interesting plot which addresses the end of the Hybrid arc. And yeah, it's pretty much just Attack on Titan. They bring back Ryan Rassick and use Max as the brain of the Titan. And the design of it and the whole mood of the episode is just so good. This is an episode that I will choose to watch if I'm craving some Ben 10 and I can only watch one episode. I love this episode, and it's stuck in the worst season of Ben 10, which is so disappointing. 20 episodes in a whole season, and 4, maybe 5 episodes are actually good. This season had so much potential with the hype of the previous arc and Ben being more powerful than ever, as well as opportunities for new aliens and villains. Even the story with an unlikely team up had potential if it was just written better. And if there wasn't a looming producing company constantly on their rears telling them what to do, this could have turned out so much differently. Look, they can't change it now. They made this 14 years ago, and there's not really much point in going back. But I think I can. It won't be canon, sure, and only you guys who watch the video will understand. But wouldn't you like to know how Alien Force Season 3 could have turned out? If they didn't have restrictions and they could make the best story they could possibly make? If you did, then show some support on this video please, and I will start working on my fixed version of Alien Force Season 3. And I put fixed in quotes because I will say this now, I am not claiming to be better than the studio when I say this stuff. They were under a bunch of restrictions and had a lot of different voices on how to make a season of Ben 10. I'm just one person, so I get to decide everything that happens here. So guys, please show some support on this video, and I will start working on my new version of Alien Force Season 3. Please show some support though, I want to make this video so bad. I just want to know if you guys will watch it. But yeah, that's about it. Get out of here. Well, the end of the video is here. How you guys doing? This is the last Rizzyrez video of the year 2024, and I know it's a bit of a negative video to end off the year, but I really wanted to make this, and I really want to make a sequel to this video, so if you could show some support, that'd be cool. By the way, how you guys going with Christmas and everything and the holidays? New Year's is coming up, so everyone's getting their New Year's resolutions ready, and I know what mine is to make better and more videos for this channel, so stay tuned for that, I guess. Well, I guess I got nothing else really to say here, so just like, subscribe, and stay safe for the rest of the year at least. Alright, bye.